No doubt everyone has traded news about the recent trade tariffs as well as terrifying or terrific implication of this trump card. See what we did there? Haha. It's crazy to think that tariffs that affect only two industries, steel and aluminum, can affect many other industries, people, and nations. However, it is simply explained by the concept of globalization, the process of increased interdependence of economies, political systems, and societies. All nations are connected in some political and economic way. Globalization affects the policy-making process because the decisions of one state or nation directly or indirectly affects other states. For example, the European Union is a political and economic organization that causes the European states to have a decrease in sovereignty with the intention of obtaining increased capacity to stabilize or even better the economy of each state. Globalization emphasizes the idea that leaders should not make decisions so freely without considering the effects of those decisions on other states and nations. The leader in this context is US President Trump, and his decision to place tariffs on steel and aluminum greatly affects four predominant groups: US industries, American citizens, EU nations, and China. One of the key US industries that is greatly affected is the soybean industry. Roughly $14 billion of US soybeans are exported to China every year, but with the new tariff, it will have adverse effects on the industry as well as the farmers. Patrick Delany, a spokesperson for the American Soybean Association, expresses his concerns with the new tariff. It's unfortunate that we have to pay the price when the administration prioritizes another industry over agriculture. Similar resentment is shown in another agricultural sector, the pork industry. Dave Warner, a representative of the National Pork Producers Council, shares how using national security as a reason to place tariffs will backfire, especially in the agricultural sector, because other countries will use food security as a reason to limit agricultural imports. Looks like the pork industry will have some pork with the tariffs.
You mean beef?
Looks like she's got some beef with me. Car companies are facing similar dilemmas as the price of steel and aluminum increases. Should they raise prices of the car or just lose profits by covering the cost of production? A way to get around the steel and aluminum tariffs is to import steel and or aluminum products rather than raw aluminum or steel. This gives an upper hand to foreign automakers as they are able to make these products at lower costs. Although this is not a comprehensive list of all affected sectors, the main point is that the tariffs do not benefit many domestic industries. Moving on to American citizens, National Retail Federation President Matthew Shea claims that this tariff is essentially a tax on U.S. citizens to support the domestic production of steel and aluminum. Furthermore, Brian Riley, a trade specialist at the National Taxpayers Union, claims that based on 2017 import levels, a 25% steel tax and a 10% aluminum tax would represent a tax increase of up to $9.5 billion. According to the trade partnership, although some jobs may be created in the steel and aluminum and coal industries, there will be a greater loss of jobs in manufacturing, with an approximate loss of almost 150,000 jobs. In addition, the improvement of recent machinery means that even if there are jobs that are brought back by the tariff, they may be allocated to machines and not humans. As much as there is a growing resentment for the newly proposed tariff domestically, there has also been mirrored sentiments internationally, which leads to 3 European Union countries. The EU officials, according to Doug Palmer and Adam Behouzi from Politico, plan to impose tariffs on Harley-Davidson, bourbon, and orange juice as revenge. EU's plans show the doors made of trade with Europe and Asia are slowly closing for the US. Speaking of Asia, our fourth affected, or rather barely affected group is China. Jeffrey Schott from Peterson Institute for International Economics claims that this tariff will not greatly affect China's economy because of its massive production of steel. It's a 25% tariff on about 1 million tons of steel, and their production of crude steel is over 800 million tons. Based on these statistics, the effects should not be as detrimental, and China isn't a large exporter of steel or aluminum to the United States, being outside the top 10 in both categories.